Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us this evening from the Royal Australian Air Force is Corporal Mark Zimmerman. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Major General David Neo, Singapore Chief of Army, and Mrs. Jessica Neo, accompanied by Lieutenant General Simon Stewart, Chief of Army, and Mrs. Katie Stewart and their accompanying delegation. We're also honoured to acknowledge Dr. Susan Newhouse, member of the Council of the Australian War Memorial, and her accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Assumption College from Warwick, Queensland. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is not by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament. Flowers of the forest, wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private John Thomas Ernest Gentle. John Gentle was born on the 6th of October 1888 in Rutherglen, Victoria. Known by his middle name Ernest, he was one of 6 children born to George and Jane Gentle. After attending Rutherglen State School, Ernest went on to work for Jasper Brothers & Co. as an apprentice blacksmith. He later moved to New South Wales and settled in the town of Kyogle, where he worked as an engine driver. Ernest Gentle enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 1st of March 1915. He was assigned to the 25th Battalion and began a short period of training in Australia. He embarked for active service on the 29th of June that year from Brisbane, sailing on board the troop ship Ernest. Gentle reached Gallipoli, Pennsylvania in September. He and his comrades spent the first few weeks of service in the trenches, attempting to hold the front lines. His unit was evacuated from Gallipoli on the 18th of December 1915, after the decision was made to abandon the campaign. He returned to Egypt, where he continued training with his unit. He wrote home to his brother William saying, "Just a few lines to let you know all is well with me. We are getting plenty to do here, and it is far harder on us than in Australia. I have not slept out of my clothes now for 6 days. Sunday I was on guard for 24 hours, came off, went on a route march and trench digging all night. Things are very serious at Dardanelles, and I am quite satisfied that the news Australian papers give us is not correct. They exaggerate. All my mates say it is hell over here." Private Gentle embarked on the Western Front in March 1916 and arrived in the French port city of Marseille a week later. He and his comrades made up the 1st Australian Battalion to arrive in France. They were immediately sent north to the trenches, which had been the site of heavy fighting since 1914. He took part in the first major battle of the war 4 months later, near French village Pozières. His unit went into battle on the 25th of July 1916, encountering some of the most brutal shelling of the war, as it is fought to push the enemy back and capture high ground. Over several days, it attacked German lines, repulsing several costly enemy counter-attacks. On the 3rd of August 1916, Ernest and his comrades were manning the front lines when the enemy began bombarding their position. The sap that Gentle was waiting in, directly hit by shell, badly wounded him and several others. Corporal Hibbards recalled the moment the shell exploded. "I was alongside him when he was hit. He was in a party going up to dig a jumping off trench, and he was hit on the way up. It was a high explosive shell and killed a lot of men beside him, wounding him. I was the stretcher bearer. His head and neck were badly wounded. I bound him up and handed him over to the bearers to take to the dressing station. He was unconscious all the time I was with him." Private Ernest Gentle died of his wounds en route to the dressing station the following morning. He was buried near Becourt Military Cemetery. His family later paid tribute to him in the memorial notice placed in the Kyogle Examiner, which read, "He gave his life for his country, for honour, faith and right. With us his memory ever lives. He fought a noble fight. Amid the roaring of the battle and the rain of shot and shell, fighting for home and country, he like a hero fell." Private Ernest Gentle was 28 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right amongst 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of the service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private John Thomas Ernest Gentle, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms and hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left to grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemned. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, volunteers and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.